Welcome to Java and thank you for joining me. It's October 23rd, 2024. It is also Wednesday. That means also that it is Discord Day. So after 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, after the markets close in Greg's Live, we'll be having a discussion on Discord. You're welcome to join us. We would love to have you there. We have some pretty good stuff come out there, and that's my opportunity to actually get to hear from you. So please think about joining us there. If you need a link, let me know. I'll try to leave one in the description. So we've got a lot of things going on today. So let's get started. As always, we start with our main risk indicator, the MMRI, still rising. Now we've got bonds continuing to sell off. That it is raising the yield, the 10-year yield, although we're hitting a bit of a resistance point at the moment. So expecting it to slow a bit. We will keep an eye on that. We're hitting some critical timing here, not just in the markets, major earnings season, but also with the upcoming election. So things are kind of winding in where almost everything is an advertisement for one side or the other. So as difficult as it is to kind of wade in between all of that, we've still got some real things going on in the background. Now we've got the fear greed index right now. It has come down a bit, but still very much in the greed territory. And that means a lot of retailers still in here. There was a bit of a drop yesterday. Markets were weak. The volume dropped. And this also, kind of washed out a lot of people. It ended up coming back during the middle of the day. Now, we're watching a lot of institutional larger money selling into these pops now. So I think we're watching a bit of this rollover happen slowly. So could be different, not financial advice, but just kind of what we're watching in the background. Now we're also keeping an eye on the relative strength of the dollar, which also rose with the 10-year yield as we had kind of expected. We spoke about this yesterday and it played right in. We're also getting some weakness in the cryptocurrencies. However, there's above 66 right now for Bitcoin. Could show further weakness all the way down to 62. When and if it hits that point, we'll be watching it from there for certain because that could be a turning point one way or another. So, looking at our stocks right now, they're opening very weak. Nasdaq up slightly, relatively flat, really, is what it's showing. Oil, though, is dropping. Now, this is between both the Middle East and the tensions here are also with the demand dropping, is what the market is looking forward. So basically, it's a weak signal for recession coming forward if it continues to drop. Now, we've got volatility is increasing, of course, and this is another looked at as basically volatility fear gauge in the market specifically. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then down below here, futures basically are looking forward to a bit more weakness in the markets, what it's showing. Now we've got gold. Gold is above $2,765. This is high. Gold has hit another record. So sentiment today, kind of a continuation from yesterday. The bonds are still selling off, driving that yield higher. As that does, that drives weakness into the stock market. Money is flowing out of it. We've also got in the Asian markets, as they're easing, that money is flowing from the US markets into Asian markets. Specifically, we've got Japan also selling off bonds. So kind of a double whammy for them at the moment. Now, along with gold, we've got silver up. Silver is poising basically a breakout. Now, we've got the two levels here that they could draw back to. For gold, the 2650 level is what we're looking at for support. And silver, we're looking around the 32 level. If both of these show some weakness, my personal view on that is those are buying opportunities. They've got a lot more they can go to. So we are hitting critical levels on the futures, and we need to keep an eye on these things. So with all of this, we've got stories in mainstream media saying that we've got a wonderfully strong economy, which is not true. Now we've got warnings coming out that there's still a weak tail of banks prone to the runs that brought down SVB and Credit Suisse. This is coming from regulators that are warning about these, the Financial Stability Board, talking specifically about life insurers, but now they're also adding in property insurance with all of the damaging catastrophes. So we've got the rates. This stands for real estate investment trusts, also at risk from the funding vulnerabilities and unrealized losses. This, if you haven't been here in a while, is because of the bond yields. Basically, again, they're all tied in. So we've got Deutsche Bank also warning of rising bad loan provisions. This is all tied back to basically what's going on with these interest rates. So with this, we've got central banks have all, you've got to understand that these are all managed, and this is by design. This is not a mistake. We've got Norway's central bank on track to deliver recommendations for central bank digital currency. This is the direction they're all heading. And along with this, we've got the ECB, European Central Bank, starting to discuss if rates need to go below neutral. Now, zero interest rate policy, or known as ZERP, has not worked in the past. And basically, this is just another way to steal from those that are savers. So I've got a bit of stock shorts here, if you will. Do a quick rundown. We've got these stocks moving the most today, and I'll say why, because you're going to see more about these in the news. Now, with McDonald's, Starbucks, AT&T, Tesla, Texas Instruments, Qualcomm, Enphase, and Boeing. So McDonald's on bad burgers because of an E. coli come out. With Starbucks, it's the earnings and forward guidance, basically, that the coffee has gone bitter basically in China, lower demand. So with burgers bad, coffee's bitter, phones not forwarding, Tesla losing energy, chips losing their crisp, and earnings hit and striking a deal. Now AT&T, they hit their earnings, but the forward guidance is weak. Tesla has their earnings this evening. We'll see what happens with them. However, they did run into a little bit of resistance at their unveil. We've got Texas Instruments and Qualcomm both having issues with their chips and their designs going forward. And Boeing, of course, is reporting their earnings, but also on the same day, the deal that they are basically coming out with to the striking workers. Now, a little bit more about our economy in the United States. Denny's, large chain restaurant, expecting to close over 150 locations by the end of next year. Their stock is dropping. We've got more restaurants, more smaller, medium businesses. Now the business size is getting larger that are defaulting and closing locations. Now, another word on the chips. TSMC cut off client after they found some of their chips were basically going through the gray market, being resold into Huawei. Now, this is the same thing happening with Russia and sanctioned oil making its way still to the EU through a third party. So, this is what the market does to make up over these sanctions, and it basically just makes these sanctioned countries wealthier. So, we've got a few things that are showing like really what is going on underneath. And I find this really sad and disturbing seeing more of this. But we've got stories like this. Who do people like me turn to? Quote unquote, this person saying that they're 70. They have absolutely no emergency or retirement savings and they don't know what to do. Now, coming into what we're going to have at this current time, we've got stagflation. And it means basically a weakening economy going into an inflationary environment. And that absolutely crushes people like this. So, trying to get out here and prepare people for what do? You build strength in your community, stack gold and silver if you can, small amounts even now. It's not too late. So, with this, also talking about jobs, if you get laid off, saying one of the most important things you should do isn't job hunting. And what they're talking about is volunteering. And while I advocate for this, volunteering is wonderful. You should look at doing this before you lose your job. Hopefully you won't. But this also opens venues for if you're looking for one, gets you into contacts. So hopefully none of you are losing your jobs, but if you are, there's resources. And I do believe that volunteering is a good thing to do at that point in time. It's very stressful, and we're going to see more of this coming forward. Now we've got coming out from American Express, the CEO, addressing borrower stress. Now, I find this ironic because they're creating the stress with usury uh, credit rates that they're charging the lower people. And the ironic part of this is that if you have good credit, you don't really need credit. Your rates are lower. If you have terrible credit and you need this, your rates are going to be higher. You pay more in this, and that basically will put you into a doom spiral loop of debt, needing more credit to pay what you can't afford in the first place. So, trying to get rid of debt is one of the first items on your list. Check on that as soon as you can if you find yourself in one of these distressing positions. So, want to jump over here to the IMF, lowering global growth forecasts and warning of increasing risks. Now, if the economy is so strong, the American consumer is one at the top in the world, why would they warn of this? So, a couple of other minor things to come out, literally minor, and minor a little bit larger in production side. Bitcoin miner Core Scientific expanding their contract with CoreWeave, and they are expecting to expand their HPC or high performance computing infrastructure. Now, I've been speaking about this for a while. Some people are beginning to catch on, some institutions. That is two things: power and also the data centers, data structures that are coming into these revenue performance looking forward. Again, not financial advice, but just watching these trends, and they will move forward. So I'd like to say this last story here. They are blaming extra strong cannabis changes drug users' DNA. So what they're saying in this study is that those that use extra strong cannabis, their DNAs are showing a shift, not blaming anything else, not looking into any other structures. Personally, I don't use the stuff. However, if you've been with me for a time, you know what I'm getting at. That basically kind of covering this story on what other factors could be responsible for changing DNA. So, with this, want to remind you kindly, if you would, join us for the Discord. We would love to see you there. And until I see you again, my friends, stay free.